He is Reservoir Management Advisor in Chevron's Technical Center.
We talk about students, we talk about young professionals, we talk about support staff.
He'll explain us what benefits you get as a student from SPE.
You're not just learning about the industry, you're already in the industry. You improve your professional skills because you go to technical conferences at a very high level organized by SPE.
The world is changed. What is the main important topics for our audience?
Because you have a team, you have a goal, you have things you want to accomplish.
What is your advice for yourself from nowadays? Привіт! Це Наталія Рудевич, SPE Ukraine Talks Podcast. Подкаст для та з професіоналами нафтогазової галузі України та світу. Цей випуск ми зробили з регіональним директором SPE у Північній Америці, Simeon Eburi. Він розказав про свій досвід та поділився думками про роль SPE в професійній кар'єрі. We are proud to introduce our guest, Simeon Eburi, who is a SPE North America Regional Director and Reservoir Management Advisor in Chevron. How are you?
Good. Hello, Natalia. Happy to be here.
Simeon, I'm so exciting to meet you and to introduce you and your experience in oil and gas to our listeners. Can you please shortly explain us what is your career and how it's going?
No, thank you. It's a pleasure to be able to share a little bit about my professional and SPE career with you and your audience and your members. It's very exciting to be able to do this. And I thank you for the invitation. So as you say, currently I'm a Reservoir Management Advisor. I do help in our company work on our portfolio of projects around the world and then provide insights into what that portfolio mix looks like and help our decision makers make decisions about our assets around the world, mostly on the reservoir, resources to reserves to production type analysis. But it's very exciting because I'm able to influence or at least help decision makers understand what the portfolio mix of the company looks like. Now, but let's just back up a little bit onto my professional career. I've benefited from being able to do a few different assignments in my career. I have 15 years with my current employer, Chevron, but in those 15 years, they've allowed me to work in many different areas. And I'll just highlight a few. I won't spend all the time talking about all of them, but I work as a production engineer to start my career, as a reservoir engineer, as a reservoir simulation engineer for unconventionals. And then I started working on the exploration side of the business, deepwater exploration in Gulf of Mexico in the US. That gave me the exposure to big major capital projects. And then after that, of course, I worked a little bit on the heavy oil side of the business and then came back to do international exploration, more exploration in frontier areas. So that combined with my current role gave me a good exposure to petroleum engineering, which I am a petroleum engineer by background, and I enjoy all things petroleum engineering. And so that is my professional career in a nutshell. A lot of exposure to different areas, but a lot of very rewarding because I like to learn. And then this is how you learn, by taking new challenges all the time. So that's professional. Now let's go into my SPE career, which is in parallel to my professional career. I started SPE member as a student at the university at Texas Tech, when I did my bachelor and my master's in petroleum engineering. I was just a member and active participant and benefiting from the events that the SPE student chapter organized, right? That's how it starts. Upon graduation, I moved to Houston and started working to get more involved with the section, the Gulf Coast Section in Houston. I like most of us, you start as a young professional, that's all you see your peers and people have the same interest, the common interest. And so as a professional, we started to do events for young professionals and advance the young professional needs, whether for topics of discussion or networking, maybe a lot more networking because that's what we like to do as young professionals. And then after that, of course, moved on to the section board of directors in the Gulf Coast and became involved at that level and started doing things more for mid and senior professionals. And then, of course, that led ultimately I chaired the section for Gulf Coast. And then that led me to become a regional director for the same region. So it's a good natural progression from student to regional director, but it's something that's always been rewarding to me. So I'll stop there in case you have other specific questions about what I just shared.
Oh, so it's a very exciting career. Thank you very much. For the SPE section, how many people you have in Gulf SPE section?
That's a good question. I don't have an exact number because I haven't looked it up, but it used to be one of the largest SP section in the world, right? I think before the pandemic, it was the highest one. And I mean, we can look up the numbers. I think if you go into our SP database, you'll find it. But again, it used to be the largest in the world, and I think now is probably the second largest behind Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So that's a lot of members. So I think that's as much as I can say.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, so we will definitely look at it. And it will be good goal for us to be the second or first largest member. Yeah, so in the future, who knows?
Yes, yes.
Here it's very important question, because we are usually try to explain the value people get from the SPE as a member. And we have different employees in oil and gas companies, in service company, in production companies. So can you please tell us what benefit you can get a student from SPE?
Okay. No, but very good. Obviously, all the members of SPE, there was about 60,000 professionals and about 60,000 student members. So in total, it's a lot, right? So, and then maybe going back to the previous question, the North America region usually has about, a big percentage of that, more than half, or about half. And so the benefits you get it throughout your SPE career. As a student, let's just start from there. As a student, your main benefit is just awareness of what the industry you're about to enter looks like. So you get to get exposed to professional members who tell you about how is it to work in the oil and gas day to day. So that exposure from a student to a professional is important connection that the students can make early in their careers. Because if you remember you remember you're a student member in the audience, usually the students do professional events, bring speakers, SPE members, professionals to come and talk to them about how is it to be a professional? What did they do? What's drilling? What's completions? What's production? So the basic questions that they can ask. So they get exposure to the professional world. They get insight into the future. They also have access to the SPE library of papers. Some universities have access to to certain number of papers. So you already start getting an inside look into what's ahead. And I think that's very, very important as a student because you're studying, but sometimes you don't know what the professional life looks like. Also, as a student, you start getting exposed to community type service through SPE to help in your community. So you're getting those soft skills of early leadership. The officers are early leaders at the school level, and then they start learning about how to organize events, how to organize talks, how to organize conferences. Those are very early skills, but they're very important because you end up doing that in the future. So that's the student level. And then if we move to a professional level, then the engineers and scientists and so on, it's a little bit different. You're not just learning about the industry; you're already in the industry. But you do learn how to network with other professionals. You learn that you don't know everything and other people know things that you don't know. So you go to talks to learn about your areas of development. You improve your professional skills because you go to technical conferences that are very high level, organized by SPE. So you learn knowledge from the knowledge base. And then if you're active, if you are a leader, officer in a section or a section board member or anything like that, you will start working on your leadership skills, right? You learn to, share common goals. You learn to do things for others, not just for yourself. Organize events. Focus on the image of your section, for example. Do things for the community as well. So there's very similar things from student to professional, but the professional is a little bit more geared towards getting your professional development, getting your technical expertise up. You start publishing papers, maybe or at least attending technical conferences. And then your network grows exponentially at that point because you do have a lot of peers, engineers and scientists in other companies that become friends. And I think that mid-career, senior career is important where you really use SPE as a way to connect you with the industry.
It's great point. So connection with industry. Yeah. So if you start your career, so you connect and understand the industry. When you start your career, you are more connected to the people in the industry. But you mentioned a very interesting point, and I would like to put more attention to that. So you talk about hard skills and some knowledge of technology, but at the same point, you talk about soft skills. And I would like to understand what is your point of view of that. So in a future career, in a future world, in oil and gas, so the hard and soft skills, what is the place for them? What is the most important?
Yes, no, very good question. I'm glad you highlighted that area because is something that maybe not everyone focus on or understand as it relates to SPE. Hard skills, the way you call them, or we call them maybe more technical kind of skills, is really what goes to the core of your your profession, right? So we're engineers, we're technical minded people. We want to learn different things for different topics and so on. So SPE definitely is a conduit for that because we do a lot of technical presentations, luncheons, conferences, and so on. So those hard skills or technical skills are very important because that's really what you got hired for from school. As a petroleum engineer, nobody hires you to be a manager, right? So they hire you for your technical skills, your hard skills, and that is your bread and butter, like we say here, or that is your core. Now, at some point in your career, you might be interested in leadership, management, or simply be a better, well-rounded engineer. So the soft skills go with the hard skills. You can't just have one and not the other because we are engineers, but we work in teams. And so you need to learn how to work as a team, not just knowing your technical work, but you need to also present your ideas. You need to know how to share them with other people. So you do need soft skills no matter what. Even if you're just a technical person at work, you do need to know how to work in a team environment, how to sell your ideas and things along those lines. So you need both, and actually you need more than that. You need to put them together very nicely, so you're not bucketed as just an engineer, scientist that know nothing about interpersonal skills, but also you don't want to be someone who just for the life of the party and doesn't know anything about your technical skills, right? So you need both to succeed in this environment. And SPE provides you avenues to do both, not just the technical, but also there are as you serve as an officer, as a leader, as a section chair, as a section secretary, as a membership chair, you are working on your leadership skills because you have a team, you have a goal, you have things you want to accomplish, and then you work on how to do those. There's no equation on how to do that thing. So it's really more of how you work on your interpersonal skills. And you, Natalia, you can attest to that because you serving as a membership chair, and you see how different skills you need to succeed there versus your technical skills.
Exactly. I like it, and it's also there's something about balance. Yeah, so it's not possible to develop only one side. It's always should going to the both side, and I believe that SPE exactly show you how to do it. Yeah, so here we have technical part, but also the communication, networking, and organizing a lot of events. It's also support you in your soft skills as well, and it also hopefully granted you for some career in management where you can manage people, then you can manage a team, when you can connect each other members. Yeah, so it support you. Yeah, agree. Thank you very much for that. So, and here it's one more question regarding the experience of SPE. I know that you have a lot of SPE events in Houston, and also I know that you have the hugest event. Yeah, so you have conference. this is one question. So the world is changed. And the people before, like worldwide social medias and all other stuff, the conference was the really place where people is meet each other, they are talking to each other, they share idea, experience, and everything. Currently, we have Zoom. So now you are in Houston, I am in Kiev. We are talk to each other, we can see each other. So what is your understanding of future of such kind of conference? Is there are some different scenarios coming? Is there are some other ideas is coming? What is your understanding?
Very good observation, Natalia. The world is changing, especially post-pandemic. And so, which is a good thing because it allows this to happen, right? That we can have a podcast from across the world and it's no problem. So I think traditional conferences will still exist because as humans, we like to gather. We like to, see each other in person at times, and that there's a value. There's value to that. See someone smile, shake the hand, kind of some of the more old school ways to connect. That's still going to be needed. I think you can't quite replace that. But what happens after the pandemic or now in the current environment is that some other means of communication are also more accepted or more possible. Maybe beforehand, some of the internet connections and things weren't necessarily as robust. There were not a lot of software maybe to do that very easily, very expensive maybe. But now we have Zoom, we have Teams, we have all kinds of ways to communicate. And so it makes it a lot easier to do, which means it opens doors for more frequent or more communication when the alternative is not possible. So I think the traditional conferences will remain because they have the element of interpersonal. Look at someone in the eye, shake the hand, eat lunch, dinner, or something. You almost can't replace that with virtual. I mean, you could try and have dinner of a virtual meeting, but it's not the same. But it does show that you could also have a place for the virtual world, and we have social media, we have Zoom meeting. There's going to be a lot of virtual conferences. There are probably during the pandemic, that's all we could do, right? Virtual conferences, virtual events, big, massive publications of technical events like this. So I think we're going to have a word of a mix. Maybe not quite ready to say that all the conferences are going to go away and they're only going to meet virtually. I don't think that sounds like a movie. We're not quite there yet, but maybe one day we will. I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is that we're going to have a mix of the two. Maybe a lot of the conferences would eventually offer some hybrid ways, where if you cannot travel because of the cost of expense, there might be a way that you can still participate virtually. And then of course the people who can travel or the local people can obviously attend in person. So I think maybe that's where it might shift. But I do have to tell you, Natalia, when I was section chair in Gulf Coast section, we did a lot of hybrid and virtual events. So what we found is that the hybrid events were not as profitable because you do have you don't have anything to really charge the members for attending. I mean, it's very low cost for attend virtually. And so if you imagine if you have a big venue that you rented space, you do need to find a way to recover so you can pay for that venue. So it really doesn't help you to have a big venue if you're going to have a lot of virtual attendees, because then your finances of the event is a little bit off balance. So that's the challenge with the virtual. You almost need to do a full virtual or full in person or maybe some mix, but you can't do a venue empty with a lot of virtual attendees because you're not going to be able to pay for the venue or the lunch for that matter.
Exactly.
So anyway, that's my take on where it's going. But I think it's going to keep the same with some tweaks in hybrid events and some virtual events. But for the most part, the core of our industry, because of the networking aspect, is going to remain in-person events.
Okay, I got it. Because if we are talking about myself, I prepare offline meetings. And definitely, we will have conference in early October this year, which will be our SPE chapter, students chapter will be prepared, and you are more than invited to participate.
Is it virtual? Is it virtual?
No. No, I'm joking, but it will be online and it will be offline. But what I see is that people is so missing offline events during pandemic, and definitely in Ukraine now, due to war, we do not have a lot of traveling around, but people is missing them. So we are trying to organize it in safety place, but we are still doing this in Ukraine currently, and a lot of people participated. So, and here it's one more question about that. So, what is events you treated as the most successful in SPE for you in Houston? So, where we can take your experience and put it in our places.
Good question there. And I am just to follow up on the previous question real quick. Remember, I told you about the networking aspect of the importance of networking. The challenge with virtual events, you don't have that element. So it's almost a one-way communication sometimes. Depends on how you set it up, right? So you hear from the speaker, everybody listens, asks questions, and then you leave. So you have no time, networking time. That's why it's so hard to replace in person, because what happens after the presentation is finished, you go shake hands and chat and so on the side. Now, I know you can do it in the virtual world. You can have a chat room and something like that, but no, it's not exactly the same. So that's the difference. So back to your question about successful events, maybe here in my region. There's a lot, because it's a big market. It's the fourth largest city in the U.S. I think maybe third or fourth, I'm not sure. And then it has it's the center of the energy world, right? So SPE has tons of events here. SPE International. And then also the Gulf Coast section had a lot of events. So the events span from all the technical disciplines. The events go all the way from just drilling and you name it. All the technical disciplines are represented. Also soft skills and so on, diversity and inclusion. So there's a lot of events. So what I would say from the SPE International standpoint, a lot of the successful events lately have been technical focus. Maybe focus on a particular discipline. I can give you example. URTEC event is very successful, and this is the Unconventional Resources Technical Conference. And so you see, it's a focus on conventionals only, not conventional, not deep water, not other asset classes. And so I think we've seen that people that are interested in that particular technical discipline will go to that conference, and they will know that everybody that goes to that conference is focusing on the same topic. So maybe we call it topical conferences that seem to be very successful. And that's one example. There are others, and here we have artificial lift conferences. We have probably drilling conferences. So I think every time it's just one topic, maybe the experts in that topic, it gets very focused, very technical, and the people who care about that topic would attend. Now, SPE has events where they also mix of technical disciplines, like our main conference, ATCE, Annual Technical Conference and Exhibition. So that's always been the most successful event over the years. But of course, lately, post-pandemic, because the other conferences are also very good, there's a lot of competition for attendees, right? So now we're in a position where we have to figure out what to maybe change or improve or enhance on ATCE, because it's a general conference with all the disciplines, so that we can compete with the ORTEX and the topical conferences. So it's a good problem to have, that you have maybe too many successful events that they're competing against each other. So that's at the international level. At the sectional level, we always have very successful events. Some of the most successful ones are also topical, like the ESP Symposium is all about ESPs. Can you imagine? One of the artificial lift mechanisms, the whole conference is around it. So those are interesting and successful because it attracts all the people who work in ESPs and artificial lift because they like that topic. So it's something to consider in your region, and think if you want to do topical event if you can. If you have enough people working in that topic, then you have an event. The problem is if you don't have enough people working on that topic, you just don't have enough attendees because you exclude everybody else. You exclude pumping units. You exclude all the plunger lifts. So it's a risk to do it in a small country or region because then you don't have other attendees. But in a big place like Houston, you can do it. You can do an ESP conference and it's successful.
Mhm.
Or call it tubing conference and it's successful.
Yeah, and it's this is the reason for the I think it's a reason for the volume. Yeah, so the volume of market. For example, like
Yes.
if we are talking about Ukraine, we are talking about like 20 tubing units, entirely country.
So yes.
Yeah. So if we are talking about like workover rigs, it's like 100 workover rigs. If we are talking about rigs, I believe that in US it's more than 1,000 rigs ongoing. Yeah. It's a little bit different, I would say. And we are talking about offshore and offshore. Yeah, so it's exactly. And but it's really interesting point that you can target specific topics and specific audience. Yeah. But at the same time, you should be aware that you have in place this specific audience. So one of the event we are going to we are going to prepare in our section is also to understand what is the main important topics for our audience. And after that, we are going to target specific topics. And based on networking, we are going to invite some experts on specific topics, and they will present the new ideas all around the world. This is the entire idea of us for SPE to be so close to worldwide experts. And I think that most of them is so happy to share the knowledge because they have already got the knowledge from other members. This is our idea as well here. And one question I have regarding support staff in oil and gas companies. Do you think it's still valuable for them to get SPE membership?
No, very, very good question and good comment. I like your plan, by the way. You do have to understand your market to know what events to put. You don't want to put an event that nobody's interested in. And then you can combine it with, you can make a conference topical, like you say, only a few interested events, and I think that's a perfect solution for your region so that you maximize the attendees. So I like your plan. I think you can see how it's working here by finding the people who are interested, do events only targeting the topic that people are interested in. That's the best way to do it. So thank you for sharing your plans on your region. Support staff, I think I'm trying to understand, support staff is people who support the engineers in our companies, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we have, for example, I used to work for the production company, and we have
Okay.
a lot of people who is used to work in supply chain, in
I see.
logistics. Yeah, so they are some of them operational base. It's understandable. It's more than yeah, so enough points for them to join. But the people who is also taking care about supporting the all operations, but they are not technical.
I see. No, very good. I think that's exactly what I was thinking. Just wanted to clarify. I think there's room for everyone in SPE, and I'll tell you why I think even support staff should consider joining SPE. Yes, SPE seems to be more for petroleum engineers, scientists, technical people, and so on and so forth, because that's how it's created. But that doesn't mean that it's only made for those. So what I usually hear from people in the support staff role that join SPE, and I ask them, why do you join SPE? You're not an engineer, you're not this, you're not that. And what I hear is typically SPE is the industry professional organization. It's the professional organization for the industry, really. I know there's the geologists and the geophysicists and other societies, but when you look at the industry kind of all together, usually it's SPE because geologists also have membership in SPE. Geophysicists sometimes have membership in SPE. People have multiple memberships, but sometimes the common denominator usually is SPE. And so if you are for a supporting staff organization, what's the value for you? Well, the value for you is that you get to be connected with the industry. Also, you get to learn that's the best position to be in. You can attend all these events and conferences. You may not understand all the equations and all these details and all the technical talk, but you will learn as a general rule what the industry is all about. What do we do and why? Why is it important to produce these molecules for the world? Why is it important to invest all this capital into infrastructure, into projects, and so I think if I was a finance person or supply chain person, I think I will benefit from really understanding how does this work and why is this industry so important. And I think that is important enough for my membership fee, right? And I don't think SPE would reject support staff membership. I think actually it's encouraged. But each support staff member needs to understand what are they getting with the membership. You don't want to pay membership if you never attend an event and you don't get the value. But if you win one piece of knowledge, or just you go to a LNG event and you learn a little bit about supply chain, a little bit about drilling, a little bit about completion, a little bit about production, a little bit about just marketing or sales or midstream, I think that's valuable to support staff. And I think they should consider that. And if nothing else, you can also get involved in organizing events. You get the soft skills anyways, right? So you do have to belong to an organization. I'm not saying they should not belong to their finance and supply chain organization for the sake of SPE, but I say if they can, they should do both. Because one, they'll get their professional, skills on their technical side, but then with SPE, they'll get the industry, they'll get the connections, the networking, and then they'll also learn about the industry. So I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's great point. Yeah, so we will definitely target as well the support staff. But also the last question about membership, because I am membership officer, so I'm very interested on your experience. And here it's about people who own business. So I used to work in a huge organization, in a huge company. You are working in Chevron, Simeon, and for the other guys who is owners of business, do you think what is their value there? Or do you
Good.
such kind of people in your organization?
Yeah, good question. I don't want this to sound like because I'm all SPE. SPE is the best thing ever. It is, but I do think about these things. So, we talk about students, we talk about young professionals, we talk about support staff, even senior professionals. What do they get out of SPE? And now we're talking about managers or owners of companies. I think there's room for everybody. You just have to think about it. What is in there for you? So if I was a owner, and I'm not, what would I see in SPE? Well, first, the immense amount of connections that we'll have with other owners, and talk about the same challenges that owners have. Like think about the company how's going to survive and the finances and the loans. And so you have a network or community of similar minded people. Other owners are part of SPE. So now that's your connection. So that's just one part of making connections. The second point that I would share is that as an owner, you also look at business opportunities. If you attend a conference in a huge exhibition floor with tons of people everywhere, guess what? Your mind is start thinking about business. So what if I connect or I collaborate or I partner with such and such company who's here, the other managers here? So you're thinking differently. You're not as a student thinking, oh, I just want to pass my class, or a professional, oh, I just want to do well so I can complete my project. As a manager, you're thinking bigger. You're thinking, wow, how can I partner with this particular company and then have a mutual understanding so we can do business together, right? So it's very different value proposition, but it's there. You just have to realize it by being there. Also, guess what? You need talent. You need to recruit. You need people. What a better place to find that than an SPE event and SPE related, because they're very, obviously very, very smart, all engineers and scientists and so on, very driven. Obviously, they're members because they value their career development. And so SPE is a great place to find other members to add to your company. You can hire people, right? You can talk to someone in the event and ask them a few questions. It's almost like a free interview, So, and so I would suggest that there's room for everybody. Owners, I'm sure they know these things already. And I'm not an owner, so I don't know all the details, but I can just think of a few examples where they can benefit from SPE. And I know they can hire a recruiting firm. They can, have their own partnerships outside of SPE. But if you can do that inside SPE as well, it's beneficial. And you can publish, you can also advertise your services. You can sponsor events. You can, be there, be seen, be a part of the community, part of the industry, put your logo everywhere, right? So there's benefits for owners too in SPE.
Yeah, I got it. When I prepared for podcast, I had a question regarding like, what is the benefits from SPE for career? But I think we are talked already more than enough. For all kind of people, we answered. You answered on that in a lot of ways, and we have a lot of benefits. And here it's like, thank you very much, Simeon, for that. But I would like a couple of questions regarding your own career, or about like maybe you have some specific example about your start of career and what you have now. What is your advice for yourself from nowadays to young Simeon Eburi?
No, good. This is always a good question because it makes you think and reflect and look back and see what you have done differently. Based on what I know now about SPE and the immense world of SPE and the impact of the industry, what I would tell myself way back when, actually, I'll go as far back as when I was a student because that was my first interaction with SPE. I would actually tell myself to be more actively involved. I think I shared this in other places where I talk that when I was a student, I was a member because everybody was a member. You almost didn't know exactly what was the benefit. You just knew that you're a petroleum engineer, you're a member of SPE. And so I was a member. I attended a lot of events because I wanted to hear the presentations. You also get extra credit, so you can pass your test. So it was more of self benefit more than the bigger picture because I didn't understand the bigger picture. I didn't know everything else that comes in the future. But I knew it was important enough to stay with it. But I wasn't an officer and I wasn't in a leadership capacity for SPE because I probably didn't know. Also, maybe there were not opportunities. It's a lot of students. Sometimes it's very competitive to be a president of the student chapter, right? But I didn't push too much for it because maybe I didn't understand the benefits of the soft skills and so on and so forth. So I just attend events, eat my free pizza, and then go to my class. So that was what most people did at that time. So I would change that. I would be more actively involved. I would be maybe on the organizing committee. Maybe I would be part of the community service or the membership. I will help more, be more involved because I know that's important in the future. Now, that's not to say that I wasn't involved in leadership capacity. I was actually president of different associations. I was a president of the African Student Organization because that was maybe where my friends were, right? So you kind of go with your friends. And so I was president of that. I was president of the Engineering Ambassador Organization. So I was a leader of other organizations. Maybe that's why I wasn't as actively involved with SPE because I already had too much going on in different groups. But maybe I would change that. I would focus on SPE more. The others were great as well, but I can see now that SPE is what's carrying me forward. So I would have to spend more time being a leader in SPE as a student member. Now, but it doesn't matter because I end up here anyways, right? So I'm here as I did the section chair, I did the regional director, but that's the one place that I will go back and say maybe I should be more actively involved in as a student member because I see the benefits now.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it's one of the advice we usually tell ourselves, like, I should be more efficient in some ways 10 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, Simeon, it was so great to talk to you. It was so big pleasure for me, and also to understand your experience on SPE and your experience which are links to career. And I believe it's quite important for us to understand how it's going in a second hugest session. So we will definitely use it for our own experience. We will definitely share it with our own memberships here in Ukraine. And again, thank you very much for your commitment, for your time. And it was very pleasure for me to meet you.
Thank you very much, Natalia. It was great talking to you, and I'm happy to always share the little that I know about SPE with the members of the Central Ukraine section. And it's just always a pleasure for me to get invited to this, to talk and to share my experience in hopes that it can help someone else out there be more involved. And then that's all I can do is give it back to all the members. If I can do that, if I can share something that someone else finds beneficial, then I feel like I've done my part. So thank you very much for inviting me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.